Awakened from dreams of sunlight, a wanderer descends into the ruins. Radio the Universe has been in development for 10 years now, and the last footage we got, this announcement trailer, was posted 2 years ago. The footage following this is between 5 and 10 years old, so keep in mind that it doesn't represent the game in its current state. But don't lose hope just yet. The last time we heard from the game's creator, 6E, was pretty recently, November 20th, 2022. It was in a Twitter post that said, "The video game is still in progress. Your support keeps me going." And the game itself is just as mysterious as its own creator. But we do know what the basic premise will be. You awaken in an empty city and the only path is down. It's inspired by games such as Zelda, Hotline Miami, Symphony of the Night, and of course Dark Souls, so there's a little bit of everything here. Radio the Universe will be a slow-paced challenge designed to engage you gradually. We do see a lot of action in the trailer, but generally you'll be exploring this vast city, and the key word here is atmosphere. What interests me most about this one is absolutely the game world, a giant city in ruins overrun by robotic creatures. Our character is described as an immortal wanderer, so how did we get here and what is our goal? There will also be a progression system for both your weapons and abilities that will be suited for both simple and more complex playstyles. Radio the Universe actually had a Kickstarter campaign all the way back in 2012, and it raised just over $80,000, which isn't much to go on for 10 years in development. The Kickstarter page, though, does give us a better idea of what the game will be like, or at least what it was envisioned to be like when it was first being developed. So let's go through these bullet points. Challenging gameplay. Hectic combinations of environmental hazards, platforming, and lethal enemies reward players who assess, strategize, and stay attentive. Mindful level design. The player's experience is managed by a carefully paced series of dangers and save points. Since this game is first and foremost going to be about atmosphere, it looks like these more intense combat sections will be carefully placed throughout the player's journey. I'd imagine there was some inspiration from the survival horror genre, which tends to have a big focus on this sort of balance, placing loud action sequences in between long stretches of quiet. Next is a somber and expansive open world connecting many areas in a network of pathways and shortcuts. We don't really know anything about the world layout aside from an outdated map, which I'll get to later, but this sounds like the Dark Souls influence coming into play. A module-based character progression system where players obtain and arrange upgrade pieces on a grid, with certain patterns granting additional abilities or bonuses. I'm not exactly sure if we've been shown this yet. There are some various grid screens, but I don't really have any idea what's going on in these. And the last point is, players who die in-game die in real life. I can't confirm or deny this one just yet. The Kickstarter page then lists a couple central concepts, such as sunrooms or save points. These act as blind spots for hostile machines that are scattered around the city. Next is field of view. The camera swivels towards the player's direction of view. Combined with a default binocular item which moves the camera, the player is encouraged to manage and anticipate distant danger as well as dangers near but out of frame. I'm guessing this feature was cut. It sounds pretty complicated, and all the footage we've seen is top-down from one angle, unless it's being saved for later or it's just something I missed. Pulsar is our primary weapon that can fire off signal pulses. We can use these to trigger switches and create explosive bursts for close-up attacks. Driver is a multi-purpose dash skill that lets us jump out of the way of attacks, leap over bottomless pits, or charge toward an enemy during an opening. And we'll also be able to upgrade both our dashes and our weapon. Then there are shields that enable the player to strafe creatively and survive bullet storms. There's a direct charge shield that nullifies frontal damage, and an alternating charge shield which changes polarity depending on the player's up, down, left, right orientation. Finally, we have version 4 of this outdated game map. I'm not sure if the whole layout has been completely scrapped or not, but generally it looks like the player will bounce back and forth between areas as each one gets more challenging than the previous one. but I don't know any of this for sure. I don't want to dig too much into that map since it definitely is outdated. But I would like to do a deeper dive into this world whenever we do get an update and try to figure out where exactly the player is and how this all pieces together. The last thing I'd like to say is about the game's art. Radio the Universe has a pretty unique style that uses a lot of chromatic aberration, which is both very cool and extremely hard to read. I usually don't have a problem playing stylized games. I don't get headaches or anything, but I do hope there's an option to turn this effect off for the people who will be bothered by this. So yeah, Radio the Universe has been in development for a very long time, and many people are still patiently waiting for more news. Sixy still posts on Twitter occasionally and has assured us that progress is still being made. I'd also be very curious to hear from some of the game's Kickstarter backers. Have you given up on this game ever being released, or are you still hoping? Especially the 12 people that gave at least $350. This is just one we'll have to wait a bit longer for and hope that it's able to live up to our expectations.